Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 127, December 10th, 2021. Expanding your psychic space for your star child from conception to birth. What is a starseed? How can we support new souls coming upon Earth in this time? Are you open to expand your galactic awareness? What beautiful and wise messages does your spirit baby want to tell you? I have a special guest. I'm always smiling and excited about that. It's Abby. Hello, Abby.
Hi, how are you?
And now I'm just going to read a little bit of her bio and we're going to jump in. Abby Lynn, a lifelong experiencer. Abby has always had a seat in the galactic table. This knowledge of her higher self and consciousness strengthened her connection to multidimensional beings. Having experienced galactic healing centers, Abby has access to an array of healing modalities. Through her Arcturian, Lyran, and Elvish connections, she channels blue light, golden light, DNA activation, and voice frequency healing. Her mission is to be a bridge between dimensional beings and source code. As a Reiki master, public speaker, TV producer, and co-founder of Raising Starseeds podcast, Abby utilizes multi-mediums to reach people as both a storyteller and a teacher. Well, thank you for being here, Abby.
I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited to share some information.
Yes. And I want to share, I always kind of set people up like how I meet people, how I know them, and I met Abby just quite recently. This is our really first interaction, and I really love the presence of her energy and her new podcast, Raising Starseeds, which is amazing because it's talking about really the afterpiece, I feel like, of a lot of the work that I do is what are we doing with these children? What's happening with them? How are we allowing them to be fully who they are and fully heard and experienced with the wisdom they come in? And so I'd love to hear more about that. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, the reasoning behind starting the podcast is really we just wanted to build a platform for other parents to find each other and to not feel so alone. You know, a lot of starseeds, people who know they're starseeds, it's a very common feeling that you've had since childhood, is a very deep feeling of being alone. And, you know, I often say that being alone is the cruelest illusion of this dimension because we are never alone. We're surrounded by our entire guidance team, which has been assigned to us since birth. You know, we worked as a team to design out and plan out our entire life cycle, this current life cycle in which we're existing in. We have all of our angelic realm that is we can call upon at any time when we are needing some extra help. And then we also have the higher realms, and not by higher I don't mean better than. I think often people look at guidance or higher dimensionals that they're wiser or better than we are. They're not. They're just existing in a different plane. You know, they have maybe more tools in their toolbox, but with the higher dimensionals that I speak with and work with, they have their own stuff too. You know, none of us are perfect, and they experience emotion just like we do, and they're experiencing physical lives just like we are as well. They're just in a different plane. They're in a different planet, and they just simply have more tools to work with. Tools being a higher connection, knowing that we are all connected, knowing that time is not linear, knowing that they have greater technology so they can portal places. You know, they aren't using these, you know, out of date equated planes that we fly in and go so slow. But yeah, so, you know, the call really was to create the platform. Both Heidi and I, she runs the platform with me. We both have these starseed kids, and a lot of these children, they're coming here with all of their memories intact, their past life memories. They're coming here to do a lot of healing as well, and they're coming here with a lot of their clairs turned on. So they're very mediumistic. They have telepathic abilities. And really, you know, when I was parenting mine, I was very alone. I didn't really have anyone to talk to. I sought out a medium in my area, and she really became my best friend through this, and she helped me walk through this to work with my children. Having been a lifelong experiencer, I was always reading and trying to find books that explain who I was and my experiences. So when it started to happen for my children and they started to recall these memories, I knew not to shut it down, not to squash it, and just be in that moment. Because sometimes when a child is recalling a lifetime, they almost go into a trance-like state. And it is best just to let them work through that. And you can slowly ask them questions to get some more information, and then it's almost like they come out of it, and then they're like, okay, now I'm back into being myself. So, you know, I did that all alone, essentially. And both Heidi and I felt we didn't want parents out there to feel alone anymore because, again, it's a complete illusion. And so we started this podcast. We started the platform so that other parents can find each other and realize this is a growing normalcy that's coming in with all of these children coming here right now. And then to start asking the questions, why are so many children coming here right now that have their memories intact and all of these abilities that they have? And what is their purpose and what's their soul mission?
Oh my gosh, I love everything you said. It's so true. It's what are we, you know, how are we raising our children in that certain kind of alignment where it's like, what are they bringing, and how can we, you know, as parents that probably have a lot of traumas and old junk all around us, like going, okay, let me see who this true connection is. And, you know, I almost feel like what comes to my mind is some people are like, oh, like my kid's at issue, or they have a diagnosis. Like everyone's diagnosed with something, right? And it's like, what is the truth of that? Is there this dysregulation? I would call it dysregulation of the nervous system because they're not maybe being who they are, or they're not allowing that fullest expression. And so would you say that, so just use that starseed connection, it's that coming in with these multidimensional tools and connections, like you said, you know, am I saying that right? The past life, like just having this remembrance of some sort and being wise in a sense.
Yeah. You know, so what we're seeing a lot with these new babies and these new children is they are, because our planet, our Earth she is actively going through her own personal ascension into holding, you know, she's been a third dimensional planet and she's moving up to 5 and 6. And so as she is ascending, she can hold in higher vibrational light. So what we're seeing is a lot of higher vibrational beings, we're talking 7th, 8th, 9th density beings, are choosing to incarnate here in physical form so that they can be here to help the process as our own planet is ascending. Because this planet needs a lot of healing because, let's face it, we've done a lot of damage to her. And so, you know, the water needs healed. The earth needs healed. Our connection, our divine connection that we have to her needs to be healed, and it needs to be more implanted in all of us, understanding that we do have this divine connection. You know, the original purpose of Gaia, or Terra, I've been led recently to start calling her Terra, was to be one of the Eden planets in the universe. This would be a place where souls would come in to recharge their batteries per se. It would be a very peaceful, disease-free, long-life planet. But it's been distorted, and, you know, some other beings decided they wanted her for herself. So, you know, we have been kind of held back from what our true purpose was. So a lot of these higher dimensional beings are coming here, incarnating into these new earthly avatars. But what's going on, you know, and so that's the reason, because they had come from 7th, 8th, 9th dense, they're coming in with more of their memories inside of them. So it's really important that we really are creating the proper environment for these beings to come in, because it's really uncomfortable when you are used to those higher dimensions to come into this very dense, heavy physical avatar. It's very difficult. And it's very.
I feel like that's why people come crying. People come crying into this world. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but you're actually. I was actually just reading something the other day about that. That's one of the reasons why they do cry, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is awful.
I know. I mean,
it's
so. I know.
It's heavy. It's very heavy. Our gravitational pull is heavier.
Yeah.
This is a very dense, heavy physical plane to exist on. So, it is. And the kids can become very easily oversensitized to, just sight and sound. And they're also dealing with, the incorporating of their light body in this physical avatar. Often children, when they're sleeping, they're astral traveling. They're popping out the minute they can. And, and when they're in the astral, they're working, they're going back with their guidance team and working with them and helping them readjust. And, or, I was doing this one session on a child, and they were about 10 years old. And it was showing me that when she sleeps at nighttime, she's going and she's working with her guides, because her soul mission, her purpose was to come here and break ancestral ties. The cycle of abuse that was going on in the family. She chose to come here. I'm going to break that. I'm going to be the cycle breaker, and I'm going to heal this family line. That is a lot of heavy, heavy work. So at nighttime, when she was, I would say sleep is an illusion. We just leave one plane of existence to another. She's going and working with her guides, because they're building her energy back up, so that when she's in her waking moments, she can get through the day and continue to do the work that she came here to do. And it was very emotional to feel, because, when you're in that moment and you're doing this work and you're seeing, they're seeing the work they're doing, it's very emotional. You realize the enormity of the job.
I feel like you're maybe talking about me and you. Is that us as a baby? Serious. I'm like, wait a minute.
I will say, personally, now my grandfather, I never met him, but he has come through for me in a lot of readings, and I feel his energy around myself, because I'm the first person in our family line who's finally doing something with all of our abilities. I'm being vocal, and I'm doing the work. And so he's coming in and for a lot of support while I'm here.
Oh, I love that.
So, because he was also very, very gifted. He was a strong medium, telepathic. He didn't have, his religious dogma didn't allow him to ever find anyone to talk to about what he was going through. And so it was a very rough life for him.
Gosh, yeah. I feel like I understand that from a child perspective, but then as I was in my 20s, I was like, where are my people? Where are you? And I was very fortunate to connect with one particular woman who must have been, I know, my soul star family, and literally felt like she was my mother, sister, brother, uncle, everything in one person. Like I never thought that could be possible. And I do feel like I get that. I was like, God, you're talking about me, that loneliness. And like, check box. And I'm sure others that are doing it are like, hey, wait a second, feeling that intuitiveness or that maybe extrasensory perception. Like, what do you do with it? What do you do with it? You become a spirit baby medium. You become a healer after you. It's very often that, a starseed will, from childhood moving forward, you are almost feeling like you're here just observing life. And I think that's where the loneliness almost becomes, because you are. It's just, I like that. You do feel like you're standing back and you're always observing things. And I used to question myself often, like, why do I feel like I'm this inside my head, like this philosophical observer of life and understanding the humanistic patterns? Because then I think, like, but I am a human. Why am I trying to observe humanistic patterns when I am a human? And so that is, sometimes often the background thinking that's going on is always being in that observatory position. And, why would we feel that way? And, for anyone who's ever questioned, like, I don't think that, other terrestrials, exist, or high dimensions, I always say, well, number one, the easiest red pill for anyone is, like, what are the top selling movies globally?
And those are Avatar and Star Wars and the new Avenger movie.
Wow.
And that's because all of us on a soul level, we connect with it because on a very deep level, we know there is truth in that there is life outside of this sphere because it's tapping into some memories. I mean, so often Star Wars is literally, I mean, it's been said by so many, it's a documentary of the Orion Wars. And that's why so many of us relate and connected so deeply to those films. But yeah, so,
I've joked before with Star Wars. I've joked before and I've said, what are my metachlorian levels at?
Well, and it's the same concept in Star Wars when they talk about the Force. You can either use the Force for good or bad, but even, for Reiki, for, the energy work, you're using universal life force to come in and do healings and move throughout the body. And, that blue light and that golden light, which is, my bio, what I can work with, that was all shown to me and taught to me by my Turians. And, essentially what you're doing is there are different levels of frequencies going into the body, and you're just working on a cellular level, getting the cells lined up properly and getting energy moving and flowing. So that's essentially, as they said to me, this is universal life force. And in a recent channeling that I did, they were talking about the pores on our body, and they said, look at pores, they sound much like portals, like pores, portals. We can portal into our body. What is a portal? It just moves energy from one place to another. So treat your pores as a portal. Bring in the universal energy around us into your body.
So when you were talking, right before you talked about stars, I think we were going into the loneliness, it's probably activated. You're activating something in me because what I felt in my sternum or my heart space, I felt this buzzing happening. I'm like, oh, look at that. It's buzzing really strong right now. And then, of course, my clairvoyance pops in and I go, what's that about? Because I'm literally, I'm having an earth dialogue with you, but I'm also very paying attention to what's going on in my internal reality. And then I heard this voice saying, you have 3 hearts. I'm like, I have 3 hearts? That sounds pretty out there, but okay. And then my right ear popped, and I was like, okay, something's happening here just by this conversation, which I find fascinating. I appreciate that, and I love how you talk. It's true I do feel like sci-fi or a lot of that stuff I say this stuff there, like you said, this is not just some whimsical fantasy, thing. I'm like, this is deep and this is, and I love that you shared that because this is where I feel like when it comes to baby communication and the way that I have been expressing it and bringing it out in this way, to me, it's very instinctual. It's not, it can fall into New Age and science at the same time because if have these bodies, so these energy bodies, physical bodies, all intertwined in so many different ways that we're bringing in these different souls or spirits. And again, I feel like it's even that conversation because some people feel like, oh, I don't know how to connect or I don't know what that's about. And it's interesting because I feel like what have we done to humanity that we literally, there's this yes, there's unknownness in the receiving of that light being in our bodies, but how do we not have instinctual connections? It's like almost like the fine-tuned part of us has been dulled,
Yes. Yeah. And it has, when you start doing some research, you can see how just medically they, we used to know that we were in tuned, and there's parts in our body that help us to stay in tuned. And then you start looking, well, when did we start and who started introducing these certain ingestible things into our body, and what did we start to do after that started? You know what I mean? Like the dulling began because they didn't want us to have these connections. Just look at fluoride. Fluoride is a very, it calcifies the pineal gland, and our pineal gland is literally, it's like our third eye brain inside of our brain. And so then you ask the question, why did they do that? Why would they be pushing on us a neurotoxin? Which, the main thing it attacks is the pineal gland. Yeah.
Yes. And is that to me like,
everything.
would you say like that's, we can look at it from really different outlets. I feel like in our earth world, people are so physical, earth-based, like, oh, well, human beings said, let's put mercury in people's mouths. What a good idea. It protects the tooth, but it literally destroys the frequency and the connection. So then I could look at it and say, is that a low-frequency energy being, quote unquote, that is then intertwining into the, I don't know if that's like really kind of, because there's so much toxicities in our world, and you're right, it shuts us down.
There is, yeah. One of the, my early experiences, my memories of being a child was, my otherworldly family was coming and getting me, and they were doing DNA upgrades, and they said it's because the physical environment here is so tough in terms of the, just the water, the food, the air, that my physical body was starting to break down. And so they said, we need to bring you up here often to do this to you, to keep your physical body in top shape. So, there is, a lot of people are experiencing this. I always say, like, I'm not special. Like, this happens to millions of people all the time. But, yeah, this is just going on at nighttime. Our family's coming in for us. And it is, Kelly, you and I were speaking before we started recording. Our souls, we've had multiple families in different lives, and multiple sisters and brothers and connections. And and sometimes we can still feel a sense of loss too, but maybe we don't know where that loss comes from. And, so there's just there's a lot of layers going on within our soul that's starting to come through. And these kids that are coming in, they're just a lot more sensitive, and those memories are still there. So
I know, I love that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I guess what I practice with my own children, I knew the minute that they came out. Well, I had dreams about my kids before I even had them. I knew what I was going to have before each. It's one of those things where I love having abilities, but sometimes having a surprise might be nice. I knew the birth order and the sexes and stuff before. I mean, even my guide told me that they just came and whispered in my ear, "You're pregnant." So that's going to even.
Wow. How old are your children?
But they are 14, 13, and 10.
Wow. Oh, I got a 10 also.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I love 10's a really good age. I love that age. I'm loving it with my youngest daughter. But the minute that they came out of me, I just instantly knew this is their own individual person. This isn't mine. Like, I don't own them. I've never felt ownership of them.
Oh, that's a good one.
This instinctual knowing that they chose me to be their caretaker until they could go out and do this great thing that their soul came here to do. Whether, some souls, they really do they just come here just to be. Not everybody has a mission. Some really are. They just are here to be happy and to spread their joy and to spread their light, and, whatever happens, happens. Some have come here because, I know one child, they've lived a lot of traumatic lives off of this planet, and they came here just to be grounded. They just needed to be connected to the earthly plane, to this plane, and to heal. They are just here to do a lot of healing and be quiet and, and to not have a traumatic life. They just wanted love. And just understanding that each of these souls that come to us, they have their own purpose, their own missions, and they can be wildly different than the other. And I think the best thing as parents that we can do is to not don't put your own timeline on theirs.
Well, so here's the big one, right? So I work with so many different people around the world for many years, and some of these women are like going on 5, 7, even 10 years. And my whole energy around what I'm attracting and building with people is because, like you, I see things, and I also see almost behind the scenes a bit going, is this a frequency issue? Is this the timing, right? People hate the timing thing. And people will do multiple interventions to kind of force the timing. And a lot of times it may work. Other times it doesn't work at all. And so if
Yeah.
I can grab someone at that level, I go, let's see what you need to get things to work. If you do need a little boost of progesterone, or if it really is a reproductive issue, or is this something else? And I do like to look at the something else. And so something you said too, which I've said many times before, is you said it in a different way, but how I'm saying it is when I was receiving my children, I was like, I'm bowing down to you. I'm this open vessel, and I can't over control it or have an idea of who you are, what you're going to become, and who you're going to be. And that's very scary, by the way, right? Because we're humans and we're like, want to control everything in this reality.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And so I remember, like, I tell women, hey, see what that piece looks like, to really be of service, to go, I'm here, and what that looks like. And that's just a part of it, because I do know our egos are very strong, and they intertwine a lot of fantasies in the spirit baby world that are not really true for people. And I like that I'm able to catch that. It's like, well, my baby doesn't want to come because they don't want to be a boy, they don't want to be a girl. I said, very slim instances, sure, but don't create your whole reality around the lack of conception, around that one tiny, very earth simple. I feel like there's so much mystery, and I tell people you have to open to the mystery. I've seen people conceive in ways that, like, science literally was like, and I have a lot of stories like that, like, nope, and they did, and because they felt in their heart there's something more, whether it's with intervention, whether it's without. I know that this child is meant to be here, and that's what I like to hone in with people, is like connecting with that part of the conception into pregnancy and working, and then into the newborn. Then you got this little psychic, telepathic newborn. I call the telepath is very strong, right, in the newborn.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that, your experience?
One of my children is very telepathic. There's actually one of I first want to say something before I move on that's just a lot of times whether we realize we are or not, we can be energetically blocking some things if we're so focused on, and really it is practicing the art of allowing things just to be. Just let it be. Just every foot that you're putting in front of another. I actually had this, it was a reading for another client, but her guides were showing her, like, walking down the street and her head was, like, down and walking, and, like, it was, like, lit for just her feet, so you couldn't see anything all around them. And they said, you're so overwhelmed by everything in your life right now. We just want you to focus on just putting left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Don't even worry about the cobblestone, like what you can't see. Trust that we are going to be placing that in front of you. So when we have these overwhelming feelings of trying, like being overworked and trying to control everything, it's okay. Like, just practicing allowing things to flow and trusting and knowing that you're walking on your path and things are going to come in at the right designed time for you. It really is. It's the art of letting go, of just letting go.
I like that. The art of letting go. It's a creative process.
I mean, it truly is. But guidance, that's a message that comes through a lot is, why are you trying to control everything? Like, just trust. And they say, just trust. Trust yourself. Trust that, the path that you've written for yourself. Trust that you have support all around you that you can't see, just trust in that. And know, and in that trust, the knowing that every time I take a step, things are flowing in a positive direction for my best and highest good. And that's really all that we can do. All we can do outside of and again, my Arcturians always say, you need to have fun.
It's true. The conception journey could be quite serious for many women. The ones that I sit with continuously, and we look at different things, and there is that piece. And a lot of the energy I'm bringing forward and now is nature. It's funny because I feel like it's really, there's some big energy around earth and nature, and it's not just me. I see it happening all around me. It's like we're kind of reforging like this connection, the way the trees, the way the earth feels. Like, we've forgotten what it feels to be. We just don't know, and we do have that other there's so much happening. I feel like, in our realities, and people, just coming back to their own natural nature, internal connection. And again, to be in the mystery too, like you don't have to have every answer. And it seems easy somehow or controlled to have answers, but it's just like you said, that trust and just like being with that trust. And, when you're, you shared something too about, connecting with your children and knowing. And I also had a knowing, but, and dreams. And, but then I was confused because one of my very first dream in pregnancy with my son, I knew he was a boy who's so active and wild spirited, and he's like that in his earth body, so I'm not surprised. And it was like I saw a girl and a boy, right? And so this girl, she never would look me in the eyes. And I go, there's no way this is a girl. It just felt like so much boy permeated in my auric field. It was so strong. And I didn't find out till 6 months because I don't do intervention. And so they're like, yeah, it's a boy. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And what else? And then, I had a very long gap because there's a lot happening in between. There's a lot of learning once I had him in my internal reality. I joke and say that my son broke my second chakra wide open. And I had to pull all the pieces together somehow. And it was, I laugh about it, but it was really, it was severely traumatizing. I'm not going to, and people, I've talked about it here and there through podcasts. And so, but I have to laugh at it because I've come very, very far in that journey. And then this other little being, wants to make his way through, and I'm going, okay, maybe it's my daughter. Maybe it's the girl. No, it was a boy. And then it threw me through this loop of oh, okay, what's this about? Something of whatever. But I was like, oh, and this is what I tell people when they get caught up with gender. I go, because my second is very girl-like in the womb. Everybody thought he was a girl. And then when he was born, I'd say the first 3 years of his life, everywhere I went, people were like, what's her name? I swear. I got a pink balloon one time, which I loved. I never corrected people. I feel like children are very androgynous. And I never corrected people. And then when people heard his name, they were like, what? They got all confused and they apologized. I said, no, it's fine. It's just not whatever. I don't want to make a big deal about it. But it's just interesting, that feeling that people get. And then it's like, oh, look, it's a different connection in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the very higher dimensions, now we're looking at 9, 10, 11, there is no such thing as gender. It's just, again, it's just being. And, but even with the angelic realm, the archangels, they can express themselves as both female and male, because again, it's, the feminine, all of us have feminine and, the divine feminine, the divine masculine inside of us. And it's creating that balance, between the two. I chose in this lifetime that I wanted my avatar to be female. And so I'm expressing and I'm walking in the divine feminine, but I still have aspects of the divine masculine within me because I have memories of multiple lifetimes I have been male. I have expressed myself as male. We all also have parallel lives that we're living at the same exact time. And I have seen myself in those lives of being male coming through. And, so yeah, we want to be solid and whole, with the sex that we've chosen, to come through and express, but knowing that inside we still have that balance, we can be both and have that, express my masculine. I can be a very tight, just protector and defender of my children. And when I'm doing that, I'm pulling in that divine masculine energy, for my children. When I want to be nurturing and loving, I'm pulling in the divine feminine and being a caretaker for my children, so we can have both within us, but I walk and express the divine feminine in this lifetime. So
I like what you say, avatar. I've never really thought of it that way. That's an interesting term to sit with and go, yeah, it almost feels like it feels right. to go into, because then it really shows a multidimensional connection, because we do I feel like I've gotten obsessed with this body of cells and the way energy moves into it. I've had my own history with illness and I'm, I talk about it here and there, and I have it on my website because that's actually what I feel like has made me a medical intuitive, and with keen abilities around it going, because there's so much in my own body that's been so sick for multiple times. And it's like, it gets to the point where like, am I not dead yet? I honestly, with so many times I was sick, even as a child, I was like, I need to die right now. I'm like, why am I not dying? This is horrible. And I'm like, and then I'm getting to this place like, oh, okay, here we go. It's like, oh, it's like, wow, you've always been a medical intuitive. I didn't claim it until my mother died. Because I realized when she died, I had space because I was taking care of her a lot, energetically, emotionally, physically. And so I said, what kind of gift can I give her that she's gone now? Like, we don't think about celebrating death, right? But I have to, and the grief and the pain I was in and the confusion, because I grieved in life. I grieved when she was living. And so then I'm like, what was that? And I realized that I was like, oh, I'm going to move into medical. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, what am I, doing? And I'm like, but this is what you've always done, Kelly. Well, what if you just stepped into it more deeply? And it's the part of, I do feel like that galactic connection. It's a part of like a piece of something that, this is what came to me literally a week ago. And maybe this is the pre-energy of you, because I don't even know if we were meeting yet. But I had this realization. It's like you came into this world with some resources, and there's something positive in that, even though it felt very negative, right? You're not just like dropped here. It's like you're remembering, that your people, your team, your, guides, they're not leaving you here with nothing, and you're just like flowering, like, oh, I'm drowning. It's like, no, like you get to use those things, or you can pretend that they don't exist, really.
Yeah.
And, and so I'm going, and it made me feel really good to feel that. And I do promote that even for other people, is like remembering our internal awareness, our connection, our trust, our source, and then going, okay, this is not so random in the sense that I'm here, I know who I am, I'm this energy. I always say if the body dropped, we'd be in our hearts. Like that would be our existence right there. And and that's everything. I do feel like, and I do feel like that's the seed of creation. That's where conception begins, in the heart space, and everything else is second. I know that could be very challenging. Like, what do you mean? It's all about the womb. Let's get in the womb. Let's dig in there and do all this stuff and beat it up. And the uterus, man, is so durable. But I go, with some women, I'm looking, going, oh my gosh, your uterus is fine. So what? Like, I've seen women who have one ovary, no tubes. How do they have children if you're looking for the perfection of the womb? How is that possible, right? Have you seen that?
Yeah. No, no, I was speaking with, I don't know if any of your listeners are familiar with, or you are, her name is Z, Earth Star Healer. And Z really covers this a lot. She goes into, the sacred womb, and she talks about, healing that, and about how, it's just love it going into the heart space and loving yourself. And, and she's talking about all these starseed children they're just waiting for, like, they're literally like, I want to come down, I want to come down, I want to come down, and us just being ready to receive them. And she said, because I almost feel like we're going to start seeing some more like immaculate conceptions going on, because these kids want to come down here. They're ready. And, so when you're talking about, like, it doesn't even make sense how this person has a child. So I don't know. We might start seeing some of that going on.
Yeah, I think I heard her. That's the one Heidi sent me, and I listened to it. I had to break it up like 20 times with the kids, but I think I got through it. She's the one who had a birth loss, right? Is that the one? I can't remember.
Yes.
Birth loss is currently,
she did have birth.
Yeah, that was a really great episode. And so, people that are wondering what we're talking about, they could go to Raising Starseed Podcast, and it's on YouTube, which is nice because you have a video. I don't do video over here. I'm not there yet. But you could see it's nice because we're such a visual creatures, and so people are probably going, wait, I want to see that. They can find that, of course, and I'll have you share that in just a little bit. But so this is, But
I wanted to go back to. I want to go back to with our avatars, and it's actually once I personally got to a place of understanding that this is on the light body, on the soul existing inside of this physical avatar, and realizing that we choose these avatars, that actually allowed me to bring in a lot of self-love of my body, because I had struggled with body issues through all of my teen years going to college. And I think, once I really got to that place of knowing that everything that's happening in my body, my physical, I'm healing from endometriosis. So, I deal with, those issues, and, I've had a full hysterectomy and, lost everything. But,
wow.
But understanding that everything that's happening in my body and the way that my body is physically shaped and my look, I chose all of that. And then knowing, okay, I chose this, and then asking the questions, why? Okay, why did I choose to have this struggle, or why did I choose to have this ailment, or, why did I choose this, round face, or, just everything, and understanding that each thing that we chose is an opportunity to either grow from, learn from, expand our soul growth, expand our consciousness from, every single thing serves as, to me, I look at it as a learning opportunity. So, this my whole life I've had people approach me because they think I'm like, you look so much like my cousin, or you look so much like my neighbor, or you this person, and no matter where I go, I would say, no, sorry, I'm not. And so I've always, it kind of bugged me for a while, but now I look at it as,
wow,
I chose to have a very friendly, common looking face because I knew that I was, my purpose to be here is to be a bridge. It's to bring this information down and to share it. And people need to have someone who looks like their next door neighbor or looks like their cousin to present the information from, so when you look at things in that way, or, like I'm healing from endometriosis, I connected that with a past life that I, have asked for forgiveness from, and, and moving on from that. And that has brought in a lot of healing when I have looked at it from a past life perspective. And I've asked for forgiveness and know that I deserve forgiveness, So, I'm a believer that, most, phobias, pains, diseases, healings, there's a root there somewhere. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And the root, it's like we're always trying to find that root or like remove the layers around it and then, move into that space. And I do see that a lot with women that are struggling conception. They're like moving through the layers. And when I do see women move in, whether it's a solo conception or whether it's, in a partnership, I do see this if they stick around with me, I do see this like wave of energy moving into pregnancy and into birth, and then they have their baby, and sometimes against all odds before when they were in the middle of it, being told, right, outside of themselves. And I'm not going to say, boo on science. I know right now it's such a constricting, controversial time, which is quite, we can look at it through a very negative lens. Yes, there's just really horrible things happening, but also what this beauty is of uprooting us in just like this old dirty system that really needs to it's contaminated us in so many ways. And now we're all just like screaming through it to see. And it's quite fascinating because I do feel like probably like you and many people, like a lot of the stuff that's happening, I was 20 years ago was like in that energy, and it was such a secrecy. And now it's like, you're allowed to be mad at the medical community. You're allowed to like say you don't want to do that. And it's like, it's a little bit more acceptable, I guess, because it's more collective. But also that, science is helpful. Yes, I'm not going to, again, but it's so immature to me that there are so many things that have been confused or misinterpreted and rechanged continuously. And that's this planet's way, I suppose. And so this is why I always love coming back behind the science and looking at the energetic and looking at the sense of person, right? And and again, that journey that people are on, it's, again, I of course it can be mentally draining and overwhelming, and yet Spirit Baby is knocking on everybody's door of their heart, going, oh, I want to come here, but I don't know. We got to figure this out together. Like there's no exact formula for it. I feel like for each person, right? Different formula.
Each person
for each person.
It's extremely unique. You are on your own individual storyline. Your path. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Don't.
Well, Abby, yeah, go ahead. I know. Yeah, I know. It's good. I want people to hear that, like just to reinforce, because I do feel like my podcasts are like energy healings for people. I want this energy lecture to be like transmitted through people, and I would love for you to share any upcoming things or website, people, ways they could contact you. That would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you can find me on Raising Starseeds on YouTube. And then for me personally, it's my website is Auric Ray. It's AURICRAY.com. So that's how everyone can find me. And then I know that I'm going to be going to Sedona in May for a conference, and that's the first one I have on my docket.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Any final words for the starseed, newborns, baby energies?
Self-love. Just it's all about walking in knowing that you are deserving of love. You are deserving of all of the otherworldly realms coming in and helping you. The key is to ask for them. They can't do anything for us unless we ask, but they are all there in service, just waiting. They're begging to be asked to come in to help us and to aid us in any way. If you want a healing, please ask them to come in and do healings, work on you in the night while you're sleeping. Ask them to come in and help and aid. But knowing on a deep level that you deserve it, you are deserving of love. And knowing that abundance and manifestation is happening. The veils are so thin right now. And so literally it's the sky's the limit with what you are willing and able to manifest in your life.
Wow, I want to soak that in. Let's soak that in for everybody. Well, thank you so much, Abby, for being here on Spirit Baby Radio.
Absolutely. Thank you for everyone tuning in and listening. I'm always appreciative of your time. As women and just, being in this world, our time is a commodity. So I'm always very appreciative of anyone who's willing to listen. And, I'm always here. I'm always trying to find how can I be of service. So.
Well, thank you all for joining episode 127, Expanding Your Psychic Space for Your Star Child from Conception to Birth. If you like my podcast, please subscribe, leave your reviews, and don't forget, please check out my book. It's a journal, Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby journal, and of course, Spirit Baby Oracle cards, Soul Answers from Spirit Baby.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.